All right. See how this is going. Get a little sound check here. Looks like you guys should be able to see me, and it looks like my microphone's running, so good. Throw this up here. We got to finish something from Sunday. We didn't get this done on Sunday, so we're going to finish a little bit, and then I guess we'll figure out what we're doing after that. How's it going, Morrison? Yeah, we're just going to give people a minute to show up or so, and then we're going to keep going. What we were doing was going through and asking ourselves questions and figuring out if we understood Linux. And now we're up to bash scripting. So we got bash scripting to do, and then we've got like our software packages and those kind of things. So we're going to ask ourselves some questions and say, hey, do I know how to do this kind of stuff? Can I figure it out? That kind of stuff, right? Or basic Linux engineering type stuff. So we're going to do this for a little bit, and then I'll probably hop off of here because I can't be on too long tonight. I've got, I missed a college assignment last night, which kind of sucked, but it was just a discussion post, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I caught up with it this morning, and then I've just been super busy with work. I got more work to do tonight too for this other project I'm working on. So right as I started to get productive, I was like, I'm gonna go finish this stream thing up, and then we'll do that. Yeah, the only one that doesn't. So anyway, so let's do this. I'll link this to you guys. We have the ability here to pin on the YouTube side, which is kind of cool. So this is the lab we're going to be in. Although this lab will not, strictly speaking, be what we're doing. We're just in the lab. Also, it's kind of funny. It's storming in Phoenix right now, so it's not quite. We just had some thunder and lightning. It rained pretty good last night, though, so that was kind of wild. Well, I'm up in northern Glendale, so I'm not like down in Phoenix proper. But anyways, there's the stuff. I gotta move this on YouTube so I can. Whoever designed their UI decided, hey, I'll put this fucking heart right in the way. It's the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen. So anyway, so I've got the thing pinned on the YouTube side too. But so that's the lab. If anybody wants to do the lab with me. And let me check one more thing. I'll leave the lab up for as long as we need it on the Twitch side. All right. So what are we doing? We're doing, again, it's kind of this idea of we're asking ourselves questions and figuring out what we know about the Linux system, right? And some of these may be kind of challenging for you, but if they are, then that's an area you need to go spend a little more time in, right? The advice I would give to somebody that struggles in what I'm about to show you is go spend some time. There's an old school site out there called tldp.org, and that's probably one of the best places that you could go spend time. Yeah, that's the right link right there, to understand some of these basic things that I'm about to show. So, or find somebody that'll teach you some Linux, right? But this is some of the stuff here, like in Bash, that you just kind of either pick up over time, or somebody shows it to you, or you go read about it. This kind of stuff. So let's do a little bit with bash scripting. You can be in the lab if you want. The labs are free. And let's go to the first question. Can you touch a file with today's date in the file name? Can we do that? I guess that, I say right in there, touch, so I tell you the command you need, and then you need to put today's date in the file name. Anybody know how to do that? You got this date command. Date can do some pretty cool stuff. Date can show you all kinds of stuff. Oops, plus. You need a plus in there. Anybody know what that is? How about that? How about this? How about let's go with that looks okay, but that looks like it would be real messy. In the how about this one? I like that one. Yeah, I like the cap F. What's a lowercase f look like? I need a cap F, right? That one looks pretty good. So how would I get that into a file command though? Because the question is, can I touch a file with today's date? So first off, where am I at in the file system? What do I have in here? What if I did like touch file dot, and then I did something like date plus % capital F? Those are backticks. They're up there by the top left of your keyboard by the tilde key. And if I do that and then I ls, yeah, it looks like it stamped that date for me. What if I wanted to stamp maybe those seconds from earlier? Those are the number of seconds. Well, who knows what those seconds are? This number here. Who knows what that is? There are a lot of answers for that, but hopefully people know what that is. I'll tell you here in a second if nobody gets it. But can we make a file with today's date in the file name? Yes. It's the epoch seconds. That's one good answer. I think that's the most technically accurate answer. But does anybody know what the epoch date is? When does that time start from? Right? It's a Unix concept, right? It's a Unix day, some people call it. What does that look like? Oh, by the way, Robodom's giving everybody the Discord. You guys are welcome to hang out down in there. No, Omalvi, it's from January 1st of 1970 at midnight. That's the Unix day. That's the start time of all Unix seconds. So that's the number of seconds right there since Unix started as the start time. That's the epoch second. So it goes all the way back to January of 1970 at midnight. The midnight of that morning. The start of that day is the start of epoch time. So there you go. Yeah, Robodom, nobody's going to probably ask you that, but that's just kind of like a little piece of trivia that, like, if you're ever making these, like what does it mean? What is it, like, useful for? Well, this is very useful for delta of time. When I say it's an intelligent future, yeah, it's a when you count this, anything that's off of this is that many seconds in the future, that many seconds in the past. It's a very easy way to figure out. Okay, so we did that. Yeah, we said touch, and then there's two ways to do this. I did file backtick backtick date plus %f. But there's another kind of more modern way. Some of you guys, I know some of you guys in our system use this more modern way. What's the more modern way I could have done this? Anybody know? What would have done? Let's add a percent like T on this just so it'll change it. But what's this other thing I could have done here? This is kind of the way you want to do it, especially if you're writing your documentation in Markdown. But it's a $, open parens, and then a close parentheses, like that. And now, when you ls this one, it made this file, which isn't pretty, but that wasn't the point. The point was to show you guys this. You can do a file, you can touch a file like that, and that's a little more, let's call that a little more modern way of doing it. Yeah, the $, with the open parens and the closed parens, you know, like this, will it will execute anything and do what we call interpolate. It'll take the value and drop it in right in that location. That's what it's doing. It's going and it's evaluating the equation, coming back and dropping the output there like a return code. So this is a more modern way of doing it. More like people that I know that started in the last 20 years do this, and then some of the older guys still do this. Do they both work? Yes. It's going to be, you know, your decision as you do stuff. And calculate future tasks without considering month of day. Yeah, just diff for the epoch time. Yep. That's exactly right, Fight Stick. He said that calculate future tasks without considering month or day, just difference in the epoch time. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so we did that. How about this one? Can you create 100 files named file and some number? Think of a few ways to do this, but can we do it? Faint Calf, I switched to doing that in my bash for loops after I was shamed. I don't think there's anything wrong with either of them, Faint Calf. I just think it's harder to write that one. So if you guys ever look at any of my labs, you'll always see that, because the $, with the parentheses, because that's easier to do in Markdown. If you're doing Markdown and Markdown's already using 3 backticks and 3 backticks at the end for code blocks, it's easier to just play the game and use a different symbol, I think. And I'm not so set in my ways. Like some of you guys know, I'm very set in my ways on stuff that works, but I'm not so set in my ways that if something else is broken that I won't just go, ugh, all right, I'll move over there and do it this other way, whatever. I'm like, be all mad. I'll be like, I thought this was America. But that is why we do that. Cuddlingus and SK, thanks for coming. Username over there has a, or username 6 over there on the YouTube side has a pretty good one. Let's make a directory just for now. We'll call it lab. We'll cd into lab. You don't have to do that if you don't want. I just want to keep this all cleaned up. Code block and markdown. Yeah, that's what the 3 backticks will make. It also works like that in Discord and Slack and probably Teams does it. I do 3 backticks in Teams all the time, so it'll work like that. So check this out. We want to make 100 files so I can touch. And somebody had a really good one over, username 6 over here had a really good one. I could just say file, and then I can do my curly brackets, 1.100, just like that. And this would work. Boom. RM-RF everything, get rid of them all. What other ways could I do that? Does anybody know? What other kind of ways might you touch a file? And look, unless we're getting down into super fast code execution, one of the nice things about how scripting works is in scripting it really just needs to work. We're not going to worry about if one way took 0.2 of a second and the other way would take 0.1 of a second, and then over 1,000 executions a night, one is clearly better. That's a computer science problem for other people. We're on the Linux side of things. I tell people all the time, cron wakes up between the 0 and the 5th second of every minute. It's like a bear just coming out of hibernation going, I got nothing to do, and then it goes back to bed. We're okay with, I don't want to say janky engineering. I'm just saying, like, it's not time bound. It's not the precision of engineering that we need to use other tools for. Yeah, I like the 4i. So here's one. 4i in backtick sequence 100. And you can actually do this a few ways. You could do it with the $ like this. So let's use our more modern way and say do, and we'll just say touch file $i, done, right? If I do that, it did it. So this is one way to do that on top of our other way. Let's drop that in there. Let's go drop our original way. This is our original way. Touch a bunch of files. Okay. And what about let's just rm-rf everything. What are some other ways? Sequence 1 to 100. So sequence can work. This is an interesting thing about the sequence command. Sequence can work explicitly saying 1 to 100. It can also work like this. We can say start at 1, step by 5, and end at 100. So this would make 1, but it would stop at 96. It doesn't ever get to 100, and it obviously doesn't have 100 total iterations, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is there's a bunch of different ways. Yeah, with sequence you just put spaces. So with just one number, sequence will count from 1 to that number. If you add a second number, it will start and end at the 2 numbers. And if you put another number in between there, it'll do what's called a step. It'll be a step between those numbers. So this one will get really weird. It'll be like 1, 16, 31. This will be all the numbers in between, but we didn't remove the other ones. This one it'll start getting real weird, right? Like the ones that it's gonna hit. Yeah, we could do a while loop. We could do a while loop. Why does anybody know why a for loop is superior for this case though? While is perfectly okay though. So I'm going to show you guys how I would do a conditional counting loop if I were being asked to do one. Also, it's really funny. I'm wearing a black shirt and it's still picking up on my I think this shirt. Yeah, this shirt's definitely black because I compared it to my blue one earlier. So it's kind of funny that it's going out. Yep, and howdy to I think that's Bazelia. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Let's do a while loop. So I'm going to say maybe count equals, or maybe start equals 1. So we always start at 1. And then I may say something like while, how would we do this? We'd say while, and then we would evaluate start is less than or equal to, like, let's say 100. Go check our logic here in a little bit. And then I say, so while that do, got to do, touch file $i, right? So actually this isn't going to have an iteration. So I need to have some other thing to count over. But let's just say count. We'll start with count. We'll use the variable count, and we'll count over this. This will be more fun. So count, and over here we'll say do touch file $count, and then we will say done. Now, what if I do this real quick? Whoops, done. What if I do this real quick? If I just run this, whoops, listener. What am I missing here? Oh, it's LT. What? Need to increment? Yeah. I do need to increment. That's true. But I'm wondering why this isn't. While that do done. Oh, you guys gotta stop me from being myself sometimes. All right, so I'm just gonna do this. What's gonna happen here, or what is happening here? I'm not incrementing, so aren't I just writing the same file over and over again like 1,000 times? Yeah. So you're right, I do need to increment. So how do I increment then? This is one of the problems of a conditional loop versus a counting loop. This is one thing I like to tell people if you are going into computer science. It's very important. A counting loop, somebody or something or some list or some whatever, as you fall into the process of the loop, knows when it's going to end. With a conditional loop, nothing knows when it's going to end. It may never end, right? But anyway, so yeah, here it is. It's right here. Is that right? I think. Yeah, there you go. Oh, what? I broke everything. Is it count plus? Is that right? Oh, no. Hold on. That's definitely counting, but to touch that to. Hold on, I got notes. Where are my notes at on this? I always forget how to do this because I don't do it very often. Oh god, that's stupid. So this is another way to do it. So it's count equals. Yeah, whatever. You do it like that. So now this will write all those files out. Yeah, count plus plus is just going to keep incrementing by 1 each time. Oh, by the way, why can't I see myself? There we are. There I am. All right. Now, is this going to equal less than 100? It's going to touch file count. It's going to do count. It's count plus plus. And it should stop. I don't have a sleep in there, right? Yeah. That should happen almost instantaneously. We'll just say count plus equals 1, whatever. That should be done almost immediately, and that'll do it. The plus plus should still increment, but I don't know why that was taking so long. Maybe there's something else going on in the background. Well, that's another way. This isn't the way I would do it, but it is a way that could be done, right? This is one of these things where we're asking ourselves questions because maybe there's more than one way to do some of these things. If any of you ever do Perl, you're not going to do Perl in your career, but if you ever run into Perl, we have a thing that we say in there called Tim Towdy. There is more than one way to do it, right? So, all right. So anyways, can you create 100 files named yes? Yeah, we can do that. How about this? Can you show the PID of the shell you're in? So you're in a shell, right? We can do env. We can see about the shell that we're in. We can echo shell and as one of those variables see that we're in bash. But what's the process ID of the shell I'm in? I may be able to go ps-ef grep-i for bash and find all the things around here that look like bash. That was downfall of Perl, 100 ways to do the same thing. Yeah, Perl, Perl glued a lot of the early internet together. It really was. I mean, and I cut my teeth on Perl. That's where I learned how to do pretty much every control structure early on in Perl and bash and stuff. Oh, Jared's here. Hey, how's it going, Jared? Over on the YouTube side. PIDstat. Will PIDstat tell us? Let's do apt-y install PIDstat. Let's see if this will work. But we're over here. we are asking ourselves questions. Can you show the PID of the shell you're in? Now, if you don't know what a PID is, it's the process ID, right? It's the process ID. That's a common thing you're going to run into. Everything you do, everything you touch, every process you spawn is going to have a process ID and a parent process ID. Those two things are always going to be there. Some things die when their parent dies. Some things are allowed to remain, and there are different rules that cause that. But let's try. It's sysstat. Let's see if PIDstat will find it for us. It may find it for us in a roundabout way, and then I'll show you guys the way that I would do it. I think PIDstat's going to show it to us in a roundabout way, because I think it's going to show us all the PIDs of things that are executing at the time. But let's see. PIDstat. We might be able to find it out of here. It might be this. It might be. So maybe PIDstat. But how do we know? Who knows that? Maxim said PS AUX grep for bin bash. Maybe. So there we got 9396. But what if there's like 30 users on this system? What if it's like my home box that I have a whole bunch of bash shells, or I have login servers that have 200 and something people connected into a cluster? How do I know? There we go. Cutalingus got it. Echo $$. $$ is a special bash variable for the identifier of the process that you're in. It's your own process's PID. PS-U and then my user. That did find it for us in a roundabout way, but what if I had like 30 shells, right? If I had a bunch of shells, this is good. This shows me it in a roundabout way, but this is really the king of this one. Echo $$. And the reason also I'm bringing that up is because that's a super useful one if you ever find yourself. Most of you are probably, this is like Deckard Cain in Diablo telling you stay a while and listen, right? Most of you are never going to write a bash script in a Linux system. It's just not going to happen. Works well in screen CMux. Yeah, to know where you're at for sure. Yeah, Heather, I'm back. I'm working on finishing up the questions from the other day, and then I'm going to get this stuff uploaded, and then I got to go back. I got more work to do. I got my company has a couple of special projects that are running, and I've just got a whole bunch of I'm down in STIGs, which is STIGS, Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines for systems, and I'm hardening a bunch of systems. So STIG stomping is not the most fun thing, but it's manageable, and it's just a lot of work and spinning through systems and stuff. Spinning through that iterative process I've showed you guys of like benchmarking systems and stuff. But in this case, you're benchmarking for security. So I'm gonna say that. I'll say that these ones all get an honorable mention because they all do show you, but you would have to filter down through the noise, and you might not know for certain which bash is your actual shell. And if you want an example of that, well, I can't pull up my home lab stuff right now because of work stuff, but let's just say that those other ones there'll be a lot of noise if there's a lot of connections to your system. So that's another thing to think about. All right. So, all right, can you show the PID of the shell you're in? We did it. How about this one? Can you create 100 files named file something, skipping every even number from 1 to 199? So this is a problem from earlier as well, right? So this was, can you create right? Can you do that? Damn ads. Yeah, they throw ads in SK, both on the Twitch side and the YouTube side, so they're just chucking ads in everywhere. All right. So can you create files 1 to 99 skipping even file names or even numbers? It's going to look kind of similar to what we did earlier. We could do for I in sequence 1 to 99, 199, like that. And then if I wanted to just test this real quick, if I just tested this real quick, I could say do echo I am checking the number $$ I, right? Done. And sometimes when I go to like hit a bunch of servers and stuff, I'll do something like this just to check that I'm hitting all the names of servers that I expect. Oh yeah, I know that the file is good and I know all these other things are good, but I just sanity check myself with this before I write the rest of my loop or whatever. We're actually going to get to a thing here in a little bit where we're going to hit a bunch of servers from a list. But how about this? Can I run this? And there we go. And do I see any evens in there? No. That's a pretty decent little sanity check. I'd say that does it. So then all I do is I can cut this out or I can leave it. Doesn't really matter. And then I just say touch file $i and it'll still tell me, but then it's also writing in the background. So I actually use this. I'll show you guys here in a loop in a little bit when we hit the servers. If I get a 69 is even. If I hit a bunch of servers, I'll do that check and then I'll have a timeout on my SSH so that even if it fails, I just have a block where it's missing and then I know which servers didn't come back. This is how I did a lot of stuff before Ansible. With Ansible, I got all kinds of other controls and stuff in place. Ansible's like the king of maintenance and admin on your servers. It really is if you use it right. But yeah, can we skip that? Can we do that? I think so. It was right here. That touched all the files for us. Boom. So the answer to that was yes. And I really think even if you're not going to be using Bash, I mean, you're always going to touch Bash in a Linux system. But maybe you're like, I'm not really going to code much down in Bash. Most of us aren't anymore. Most people are off doing it, other things. You got a lot of good Python libraries. You don't really need to be down there that much. But you do need to know the basics sometimes for pulling information out of systems, looping over things, pulling stuff out of log files. All of these things there's like kind of valuable skills that are still based in Bash. So you won't hear me say don't learn Bash in some way. I just don't think that maybe you're going to be doing a lot of this stuff like I'm doing. This is more just us, hanging out and practicing. Can you create a variable of one data point? One datum. Yeah. Azalea, I think it's definitely valuable to know the tool you're using, absolutely. SK, in Python, there's like an OS. There's like an OS module that can help you to like do basic commands and do stuff inside of the... So people use Python for administration of servers as well. Although I wouldn't write any of that stuff. Import OS, that's what it is. Yeah, it's the OS library. But I wouldn't spend time making that stuff to maintain my systems. I would use Ansible for it, because Ansible is literally just a framework that kicks off modules that are already written for you in Python. So oh wow, that's a long loop. All right, so can you set one variable? Let's say var1 equals any one data point. It's really that simple. It's something that simple. Hey, how's it going, Ringer? Thanks for the follow. And hopefully that's the longest A name I've ever seen. Thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's all useful to you. That's a funny name. Yeah, the goal of this again is to get you guys doing stuff and figuring out that you can do it. So yeah, this is just var1 equals 100 or something like that, or whatever. And you can throw stuff in there. So you could throw, this is actually, well, this is going to come up here in a little bit, so I'm not going to do this just yet. But there's that. Using Python, it would force you to learn more about the OS and Python process. Yeah, sure, ThinkCap. As a project, I think that would be really excellent. Yeah, and I'm not trying to tell anybody not to do project work and that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of value in all that stuff. I'm just saying when you sit down to like do a task at work, you might just go in and do that. Cybermage said Bitcoin. It's funny, I never got into Bitcoin. I had a buddy that was mining that stuff in like the early 2010, 2011 time frame, and he was always trying to get me to do it, and I was like, and he sold his stuff for many, many millions. Yeah, value. Yeah, and actually, I did it as data point for a reason because I think I was going to have it be something like this. Like I was going to have you pull like data from somewhere. But you're right, I didn't do that. So maybe one value would be more clear for that. That's fair. That's fair. Because it is a value, and sometimes it might be a data point. All right. All right. So can you loop forever? Watching uptime every 2 seconds. Can you do poor computer science but excellent system administration? Cybermage, I'm not a big fan of. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't sit around here and try to get too opinionated because I feel like a lot of people online are given a lot of opinions about stuff they don't know about. And while I think I do understand Bitcoin well, I have my own reservations about using it. So that's when I think, oh, this is very poor computer science, what we're about to do. We're about to create an absolute abomination of computer science. We're going to watch something forever. And how would we loop to watch the uptime for every 4 seconds or every 2 seconds? While true. That is the way that I like to do it. But there's another way that I would also accept on this one, because I didn't say you had to see all of them. But yeah, let's do mine. This is my way, but this is also the way that was mentioned. Good God, this fucking thing. Like everything and its brother wants to be in the way on God damn it. Like Twitch has this UI, and then every single thing just keeps popping up further and further down until you literally can't see the chat anymore. And it's like, well, what the fuck are we doing here then? Like, why don't you put that somewhere else that's not the chat? I don't know. I'm just like an old man yelling at clouds now. But anyways, yeah, while true, do, uptime, sleep 2, done. And this is going to sit here and literally spin forever. Yeah, the links don't come through Fight Stick. You might have to put it in. You might have to put it in the Discord, and then maybe Robodom will grab it for you. He's the mod. He's the one that kind of runs a lot of that stuff. But this would run forever. What I didn't tell you guys that I didn't say that you couldn't use Watch. Watch is a really excellent tool, but the problem I have, look at what just happened with the While True, and then look at what's going to happen with Watch uptime real quick. This is updating every 2 seconds. You'll see it up there on the top right. It's updating every 2 seconds. But does anybody know why I don't like this one as much as my little while loop? Even though my while loop is a true abomination, it's just gonna loop forever. It's an infinite loop. It's a poor computer science, but it's really good for us to watch a system over time. Look at this. What if I just let that run? What if I also threw that out to a file and then I said, all right, team, start up the load of your Java processes on this Tomcat server that we have. Can you, and this wouldn't be all we were watching. Please believe that. And we would probably also be monitoring it in some other tools like Node Exporter and Prometheus and Grafana and all that stuff. But at the command line, as they've got me on the phone and telling me, Scott, I can't figure out why this thing won't start, I can help them here. I can look at this. I can look at the memory. I can do all of these different things. Hey, Cuddlingus, thanks for the subscription. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Like none of that stuff's necessary, guys, but it does keep you from having to look at ads, which I think is probably cool for you. And then it also helps keep me motivated. So I do appreciate that. Also, make sure you refresh your browser because I know, well, I use Turbo because I don't ever like ads, but make sure you refresh your browser so it doesn't hit you with another ad. That would be terrible. But okay, so that did it, right? We can watch that. So I would say watch uptime or while true, do uptime, sleep 2, done. What about some other ones? Are there any other ones that would just loop forever and watch uptime for us? By the way, this is a valuable thing for if you're not a systems administrator, systems engineer, and you haven't done this stuff much before. What's happening here? We're evaluating. So while wants to evaluate the truthiness of a statement, it's going to evaluate for the statement to be true. If the statement that's evaluated is true, it's going to drop into the block between do and done, and it's going to execute everything in between do and done sequentially. Well, provided you got the syntax right. So while is going to come in here, and on the first iteration of the loop, it's going to take true, and it's going to test true to be true, and it's going to find true to be true, so it's going to drop into its block. It's going to do an uptime, it's going to sleep for 2 seconds, it's going to go to done, it's going to walk back to the top of the loop again, or start back over, it's going to evaluate true to true, and it's going to go over there, right? It's just going to keep looping. Yeah, I love watch for certain things, but not when I want to see things over time, right? Yeah, watch is great, but look at the difference, guys. Watch is only going to show me the last value, and there's value in this. Maybe I just want to watch for like a number to pop up. I want to watch a number go from 0 to 1 one time ever. This is great. I expect it to go from 0 processes running or 0 threads running in my web server to 1 thread running. That would be perfect. And then I would hit Control-C, because I'm using Control-C to get out of it, and I'd be done watching it forever. But if I wanted to see kind of like a pattern emerge over time, I really like this one. Like, let's watch this for 5 seconds here. And I could sit here and, and then maybe I can even do something like this. Maybe I'll put a date on it. And then that, and maybe I sleep like 20. And then, I tell the team, hey, me and the team are going to go to lunch, and just go ahead and start your service whenever, and I'll check it when I get back. And, we made sure that it does start. You wanted to configure some last little bit, and then you were going to start it up. And I'll go ahead and tell you what the load looked like after that came back up. Oh, what is this? This was a link from Fight Stick. Hold on. Listing evaluator of your CS education. Classes teach you advanced topics in CS. Okay. Students spend hundreds of hours in tools on their course. Look at that. They've got interesting stuff in there. Okay. I like this because I've been telling my students, my college students, this for a long time. I've been telling my junior engineers this for a long time right here, is that you can't figure out proficiency with your tool when shit's hitting the fan. When the fight is on, when the event is happening, when you have been breached and you're trying to resolve it, that is not the place to try to figure out how a for loop works. You need to know your tools. You need to be, it's this idea, they say you can never fight better than you train, right? You can only fight as well as you train. You have to know how to use your stuff. So I really think that's a cool tool for that. And it looks like they've got all kinds of good stuff in there that'll give you some good ideas. So anyways, Robodom linked that for people. Okay, so we got that part. And then can you loop forever? Yeah, we did that. Can you make your system count to 100? This kind of is redundant with some of the other ones, but Can anybody make their system count to 100? Hello, sir. Out of curiosity, what are we doing differently with Socratic Method? Did I call this Socratic Method today? Hold on, let me check. Yeah. So the Socratic Method, Veer asked what's the difference between like Socratic Method and maybe how I do other things. This one is everything that we do has an overarching question to it. Yeah, you always default to your level of training under stress. I like that, Jared. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you can't. There's an old saying: if you can't do it slow, you can't do it fast. But it's this idea that you can only train as well. You can only fight as well as you train, is the way they say it. But to answer the question though, Veer, we are looking at questions and then saying, can we do the thing? And we're asking ourselves, we're taking it apart, we're looking at it. So can we make our system count to 100? Yeah, I think we could do that. We did earlier sequence 100. I'll do it. Count to 100. Sequence 100. We also found that we could do sequence and explicitly say 1 to 100. We could do that same thing from earlier. Let's go steal. I love to steal stuff from myself, right? What's better than figuring something out? Let's just do this. What if I started my count at 1 and then I did that, but now instead of touching this, I just echo count. That counted to Well, that counted to 99. So this has to go to less than or equal to 100, and that'll count to 100. So this would also be a way to do it right here. This little guy. So can we make our system count to 100? Yeah, we got a few ways to do it. You might say, well, why'd you use a while loop there, but you didn't include your for loop from earlier? Well, because my for loop used this under the hood, so that's kind of cheating if you ask me. I've never done sequence 100 and piped it into rev before. Oh, yeah, that is C style. I like that. Yeah, actually, I can never remember those because I don't do enough C. But yeah, that'll do it. For I equals 1, that's the start of your loop. And then you come here and you say I is less than or equal to 100, right? And then you say I plus plus. And you evaluate that in Bash. You can evaluate that. And then you say after that, you're going to do your do, because we're always going to do our do. Echo, I am counting $I. I wish I could type. Done. Boom. That'll do it. Yeah, I'd buy that for $1. Looked like somebody else had another good one too. Hold on. Boom. Go to lift the code. Yeah. I would go steal that too. Oh, there's another one. Bazelia has awk. Oh, you're using awk. All right. I know awk enough to be dangerous, but I don't know awk that well. Here, let's grab that real quick. Let's see if awk will. Look at that. Awk is its full programming language, if you guys didn't know. That's pretty cool. I like that. We got some ways in Bash with Bash can call other languages. So we're using awk, which is its own programming language. I didn't even think to use Perl. Perl. I can say let's see. For I don't know that one. I know while for sure. Perl-E. I can say while. Oh yeah, I should be able to do. Hold on, 1 to 100. Is that right? I could just do while. Let's just say while. I don't know. Count is. We gotta start over here. We gotta say count equals 0, and then while count is LT. Is it just LT? I think it's like that. 100. And then in, oh, you don't need to do that there, but Perl uses curly brackets like that, and we would say print $count. Oops, no, not like that. Count new line character, right? Because you always got to do that explicitly. That, and then we close the whole thing out. Ah, I broke it. Hold on. Somebody help me out. Oh, it's we do it like that. Yeah, because I haven't done Perl. Oh, what? Count equals that. While that. Oh, well, guys, you got to increment count, right? This one's easier because it's $count. This is super easy in Perl. Count plus plus like that. That's all you got to do. Boom. That'll do it. So this is I hadn't even thought about the fact that I used Perl forever. Perl will do it, right? So we got. Oh yeah, look, Perl with the C syntax. Look at that. Hold on. I'm gonna try the Perl with the C syntax. So look at all these. What's this one? Perl dash capital E does something else for, and then we're doing our evaluation this way. $I is the way you call a scalar in Perl. You don't really need to know that because this isn't gonna probably ever come up in your life. $sign is less than or $I is less than or equal to 100, and then we end every line in Perl with a semicolon, and then $II, which or I plus plus, which is the same thing that I kind of did, and in there, hold on, I can. Basically for Perl 5e is the cap. I didn't know that. Oh, that's awesome. And then yeah, we would just go in here. So now in curl you just do in Perl you use curly brackets and then print $I, which I think this will all just go. Whoops. We need a ending. Yeah, but we could do new line and character, right? And then just do like this, and then it would just do new lines for us each time. Boom. So that's look, there's another one, and that's Perl 5 explicitly, I guess. So I stopped using Perl probably in like 2016 as far as like all the time, because all I ever did I used to write everything in either Bash or Perl, and then what happened was Ansible came along. I started using Ansible in about 2013, but I didn't use it for a lot of use cases. I used it for a very specific use case, and yeah, you need to type say instead of print. Oh yeah, did I do print instead of say? Hold on, let me see. Would say have done that right? Like, does say do something else? There you go. Boom. I didn't even know about that one. There's so many things. Like, Perl is one of these languages that it's almost like you're out on a treasure hunt. There's so many things out there that can happen inside of that language. But yeah, look at all those ways that we found to make our system count to 100. I bet you that there's more. I bet people could probably just keep coming up with them if we wanted to, right? Different ways to make our system count to 100. But yeah, okay. So, can you make your system count to 100? Yes. Can you loop over the list from the command line? So let's do this. If I had, and then I said, can you loop over a list from the command line? Can you loop over a list from a file? We've been looping over something that we generated and counted, but what if I knew, so I have node 01 and I have control plane. So maybe if I VI, you know, where am I at here? RM-RF everything, but I VI servers and I put control plane and I say node 01. We're gonna need this here in a little bit. And we cat servers. Could I loop over a list that we just gave in at the command line? Or could we loop over lists that I gave myself or somebody gave me from a file? So the way we do this right here is let's just say for server in, and we could just put the list right on the line here. Control plane and node 01. Do echo I am working on server $server. Done. That would do it. But that's not super practical. What if I had like 400 servers and I just needed to hit them all? Well, what we can do here is we can use that interpolation idea and go grab all the data and drop it right here. Drop it in that same place. And we can do this. We can say cat servers. And now this will, what? It would help if I spelled servers right. And now that would loop over it that way. While read R, oh, there we go. See? Hold on, can you loop over lists files? Yeah, so we had this one, so we could just do it right here. Yeah, the while read from a file. That's the one I never remember because I don't use it. You guys know I only know the things I know, right? But this is, hold on. Once I have one working solution, I never put the other ones in my brain. But, done. What's the, yeah. Oh, there we go. The read, right? It's like while read. What's that one? While read dash R, right? Something like this. Loop I posted earlier, use recursion to count to 199, skipping 1. Oh, nice, Bazelia. That's pretty good. While read R server, yeah. Servers, right? Do echo $server done, and then throw into it servers. There you go. Whoops. Oh, hold on. Why did that do? What did I miss there? Oh, that's my bad. Server here. That was my bad. I did that to test you guys. Read-R server. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Boom. Because that's your counting variable, not the name of the file. The file comes in, gets thrown in at the end. So look at that. This is all these ways from all these different people. And again, we were asked earlier. I was asked earlier on the YouTube side, like, what are we doing here? What does it mean to be the Socratic method? We are asking ourselves questions. That's what the Socratic method is. We ask ourselves questions. We figure it out. Maybe if nobody was here to help us, we would go do tldp.org. That's a great tool. Yeah, variable names are always a pain. Yeah, especially when for some reason I wasn't tracking, but yeah, servers is the name of what we're throwing in there. So you could turn over any size list you guys wanted, right? So look at this. This is a bunch of ways. And even nowadays, if you asked me for like a quick and dirty, hey, do this against 10 servers real quick, and you just had the list of servers, I would look at that and go, I'm just going to loop over that and bash real quick. And if you watched me do it at work, you would see me just put those files, you know, that list would be in a file. I would loop over it literally just like this, except I tend to use backticks because I'm an old dog, hard to learn new tricks, right? And but there's these ways, there's all kinds of ways to do it. The way that works for you is the way that's important to know, right? Like you need one really good trick, not 100 different ways to do the same thing. And that's a thing, like, you know, I feel like that's a thing that I run into a lot with like junior and mid-level engineers. They're completely concerned with whether or not you're using, like I have people come in here a lot. This doesn't happen as much anymore, but people come in and be like, why are you using Windows? And I'm like, you don't see me doing Linux all over here? I'm doing Linux all over the place. They're like, yeah, but you were using Windows. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what I'm using. I could be on my phone doing this. I'd type a lot slower, but yeah, as long as I got a putty window, I can do everything I need to, right? So anyways, my point is that's like something like I find as people get near the end of doing this, they only need one or two good tools. It doesn't matter all this other stuff. So, okay. So we did that. That was pretty good. Now, can you connect to two systems and capture their uptime in a file? Can you connect to two systems and capture their uptime in a file? And I think there's a spirit of this right here, that you're doing it through automation because it's a script, right? So can you connect to two servers and show uptime in a file, right? And conveniently, I have a list of servers. I have them in all these different ways. And I told you guys earlier, there's this kind of cool thing where anything within this block is fair game. So could I SSH $server right here and then get their uptime and then throw that into some file.txt or something? Now, real quick, is this going to have one value in it or two? Is it only going to have the last value, or is it going to have both values? What? Damn it. It's only going to have the last one. And the reason is because I clobbered it each time. So that is not an append. So let's rm-rf sumfile.txt. And let's do that same command from earlier, but let's do it the proper way, which is like this. And then now, when I cat sumfile, it'll be both of the entries. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay, but you could put the after done. And it would do both. Okay, fair enough, Bazelia. I didn't even think about that. It's amazing what people can do as they gain mastery. Yeah, Stubbs, like, you'll find people, this is the same thing in jiu-jitsu. We talk about how when you first start jiu-jitsu, you don't know anything. But then as you go further along, you know all these things. But then you start to really compress down what you need to use on a daily basis, like a lot. Like I do a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I don't have to use almost any of it ever. Because it's, I went to pass somebody's guard today, and he asked me about how I passed it, one of our blue belts, and I told him, oh yeah, I just did this thing, and I showed her whatever. And then I passed his guard right away again with it, and he was like, oh wow. And then I was like, oh, let's just reset, because it didn't make any sense for me to fall into that same pattern over and over again with him. I needed him to fix it for himself, if that makes sense. It's a little bit different concept, but the point is, like, you use a lot of tools when you're kind of like learning, but then it really just simplifies down over time. But and I've been doing that for a long time, that sport. So can you connect two systems and capture their uptime in a file? Yes. What if I did it this way though? There's another way to do this. rm-rf sumfile.txt. There's a better, well, I don't know, it's, some people might say it's better, some people might say it's a cleaner way to do it, is like this t-a into some file. So now this is going to come to the screen still, but then it's also going to go to some file. And then maybe over here, when I say I am working on server, I can also t-a that to some file.txt. And now it's going to do the work, and it's going to come to the screen because I'm physically watching this, right? So I do want that to come to the screen. In a script, I don't care. In a script, I don't need this, because the script is going to happen at night while I'm asleep, and standard output's going to go to bit heaven. We don't know where it goes. It doesn't come to a screen. So we go here and we run this. Now it came to the screen, and if I cat some file's that exact same value, because T splits it into the file as an append and then whatever. Bazelia said, argue spawning a new process with each iteration is worth. Fair enough. Bazelia, I don't know if you were here when I was saying earlier, we are not like doing this from a computer science standpoint, as far as like we're not trying to squeeze it down to 1/10 of a second or 2/10 of a second. We are engineers at the platform level. We're okay with it being janky and slow as long as it works. But yeah, I agree, Bazelia. I get what you're saying. If I was doing this against 10,000 nodes and I needed to know it in 5 minutes, my way's not going to work. There are faster ways to do a lot of things. And I was telling you guys earlier, I mentioned one of my favorite ones is cron. Cron wakes up between the 0 and 5th second of every minute. And you might say, well, is that engineering precise? And you're like, that is not engineering precise. That is not precise to a level of like most things we do. But it does work. Quick and dirty mercenaries. I like that. It works well enough for systems work, though, right? The process waking up and like it's like a bear waking up from hibernation going, oh, there's nothing to do. All right, I'll go back to sleep for another 55 whole seconds, you know, because it wakes up between the 0 and 5th second of every minute, typically, right? Wait, so can we connect to the servers and show their uptime and throw it in a file? Yeah, sure. We had a whole bunch of ways to do it. I like this one, but I was also showing by server name. That's not the best way to do it. What I should have been doing was this other one where we were getting it from, we need to get it from a list like this, right? And then this would have been a better way to do it because then it would have shown them out. So, okay. But yeah, guys, I am not a computer science major by any stretch of the means. I mean, I've been in computer science for a long time, but the precision that some of you work with is way beyond anything I have to do. My stuff just has to finish on as many nodes as possible, right? So, okay. Can you connect two systems and capture their uptime? We did it. Can we create a script that captures... So now we got to create a script. So I'm down here in this lab. I'm going to remove everything. I don't need any of this stuff. Yeah, let's just get rid of everything. All right. Now I'm going to touch script.sh. It's a script. Script.sh. Now, as a starting point in bash scripts, and a starting point in all shell type scripts, we put what's called a shebang line. If I don't want to put a shebang line here and I don't do it, it literally doesn't matter right now. Right now. If I tried to move this to a different system and somebody was using some other type of default shell, my script may break because they try to run it in their default shell. So the shebang line is really there to allow the system to know to run that shell. Now, most of us, so let's say which bash, oh look, it's user bin bash on the system. So the best way to do it on this system would be user bin bash. However, I'm pretty sure that, let's just do ls-l bin bash. I'm pretty sure that exists as either an executable as it is or a link. You really want to stick with convention most of the time, so you're probably just going to use this like this. And that's fine. And then me, I like to do, I do a block typically at the top of mine. You do not have to do this. This is your own little thing, right? You do this however you want. You can also have a certain number of spaces that you always go out, whatever you want. I do 3 things always at the top of my scripts. Purpose, date, that's the initial date, and then name, right? Like who's next gonna get rung? And then some people will add later. Now, you might look at that and go, Scott, that's all garbage now. We use Git for everything nowadays. We do. Most everything gets pushed up to Git, so a lot of this is like a moot point right here. We know your Git commit. We know we got an exact perfect hash of exactly when it happened. Sure. But back in the day, we used to just keep our own, like I always have like a root Scott sandbox, and that's my little sandbox area that I do a bunch of stuff. And there's that. So, yeah, so I put this at the top. I also put this at the top of my Ansible playbook still. So I just do, it doesn't have to, oh, look, my environment's dead. So you need to have, you don't have to have anything like that, but I do that. So let's reset the lab. If you were in the lab with me, reset it. It's pinned, so you guys have it. But let's, I'm just going to go right back in. I'm just going to make the lab exactly like it was, because none of the other stuff was needed. So mkdir labs, cd to labs, touch script.sh, and then I'm going to VI my script.sh, and I Control-Shift-V, and there it is. So there's my shebang line, and there's my whatever. The space inside the system is almost free. I mean, this is literally bytes of data, so it's pretty much free. So what I need to do is I need to capture the start time, sleep for 10 seconds, and then capture the end time, and then print them out. So there's a few ways to do it. I can say start time, right? If I want to use camel case, something like that. And the start time could just be date, right? I could use date just like that. And then I could sleep 10. End time. Oh, geez, man. Date. And then I could say, you know, print, or let's echo the start was start time, and the end was end time. Not super practical, but this should work. Now, quick question about the system real quick. Let's clear the screen up. Let's pwd ls, and if I just try to run script.sh, is this going to execute? There's actually quite a few reasons this isn't. This is broken for a few reasons, but is this going to execute right now? Whether it's broken or not, will this execute? Got a chmod, got to do that. But real quick, there's a saying in engineering, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions, right? Yeah, the // that's important too, but does anybody know what the / problem is? What's the actual problem? Let's look at that. So script is going to break because the command's not found. But why is the command not found? It's not in the path. Fair. That's actually a good answer. So let's real quick, let's chmod, as we were told, 755 for script.sh. Actually, real quick, before we do that, let's do an ls-l on script.sh. And what's the permission set of that? That is a 644, right? We learned this the other day. Yeah, it's not executable. It's 644. Root over here cannot execute it. That's the user owner. The group owner can only read it, can't even write to it. And everybody else in all the world can't do anything to it. They can only, well, they can read. So that's a 644 permission. Let's do a chmod 755 to that script and see now what can people do. Script.sh is 755. Ah, we got move it to bin. But what if there's two things I can do now, and we'll do both of them, but the thing somebody mentioned was // // fixes a problem, but it doesn't actually fix if in the future I wanted to execute things from root labs, // will work to execute this, right? This script's going to take 10 seconds and execute. But what is the // doing? Does anybody know what the dot is in Linux? In a bash script, bash shell? What is the dot? All right, so that worked, right? But what's the dot mean? If I do an ls-al, who is this? What the heck is this? And what the heck is that? So this is the dot, and this is the dot. What are those two guys that are always there? Yeah, the path that we're in is the dot. And who's the dot? That's me pappy, right? That's my pop-pops. That's the parent. So yeah, this is my current path, and this is my parent path. Yeah, current and parent dir. Some people never think of this. You go your whole career, and you're like, I saw when I did an ls-a, it always showed me dot and dot, but I never really thought about them. This is the directory you're in, and this is the parent directory of the directory you're in. That's all that is. Ah, so fight stick, you've got it. This is maybe this is where I'm going to execute all my future scripts from. This lab is going to be my place. Let's just say, yeah, I can append. So let's go echo $path, and let's look at the path that came with my user. My user is root, but the path I have is user bin, and this is the path I'm in. Is the path that is the directory that I'm in? Is that in this path? So my system's going to go look in user local sbin, user local bin, user sbin, user bin, sbin, bin, user local go bin, and snap bin. But is it going to find root labs script.sh? No. So when you do this, you're actually giving the relative path to exactly here to execute it out of. That's what the // means. So if you've always just done a dot forward slash as an engineer and an admin and never really thought about it, you're just calling the exact, well, it's a relative path, but it's an exact path to where you're at, and you're executing it out of where you're at. You could, if you wanted to be like super pedantic and do absolute pathing, you could call this like this. But that's arduous, and that's not the way that we would, that's no way to live right there, right? That's terrible. So what if we wanted to add it to the path right now? Somebody mentioned we could just add it to the path. We could say path is equal to path, and then colon, and then root labs. And we're going to put some single quotes around that. Oh, and dollar sign here. So now we're going to take the path we have and add root labs to the end of it. So again, this is not necessarily recommended as a root user. Now if I echo $path, $path, we'll see that root lab. Echo path is, oh geez, oh gosh. Did I break everything? Oh yeah, it's because I did single quote. Oh jeez. Oh god, guys, that's so hard. I broke everything. Path is gone. I got the path right here. But yeah, you're right. I could have broken everything here. So let's just do this way. Path equals, it's because I did single quotes and I was testing you guys and nobody caught it. So that's a failure on everybody else's part but mine. I'm just kidding. All right, so here, and then we'll throw root labs on the end. We'll fix it live. This is me right here, guys. We're doing it live. All right. Get rid of that. Colon, root labs. And the single quote. All right, echo $path. My path is fixed. And I can type script now. And it'll do my little script or whatever. Yeah, I could also source bash rc again and it would fix my path as well. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. So look, we did that. I think we could do that. We could create that. Let's cat script.sh. That's a decent little example for us right here. I think for a basic little shell. But see how like having a little script there opens up all this other stuff to kind of think about. And yeah, a lot of admins will have a place out of their own system that they can do that. Actually called nil path and adds current path to path, not mattering the path. Nice, fight stick. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know Inspector does a lot with his paths. I don't do a lot of stuff with my path. Yeah, and then export path. We talked about exporting the other day, and exporting is being very valuable because then the variable can now go down into your lower spawn shells if you're going to fork things and exec things out. So okay, so that's good. So we did that. Can you test a variable against an expected known value? This one's fun. So you've got a variable or something and you're going to test it against like maybe a known value. Can you do that? So maybe I do like in my case I might do like echo $user. All right. Oh, user is Casey and Charlie. I thought it was going to be root. Let's say echo yeah, we'll do this will be fine. So we've got a variable. Can we test that variable against a known expected value? Like if I said if, so there's two ways that I know to test in Bash. We can say if square brackets, which will test, or we can say if test. Most people I know do not use this. But you can use this in the place of square brackets, and I'll show it to you guys here in a second. But let's say this is the more common way. If square brackets, that'll be our test, do something. Oh, sorry, it'll be then. Then, code block. And then when we're done, fi. Fi will close out the if. So if in here we're going to test, and we're going to say user is, let's say equal to root. Then, let's do it like that. That's fine. Then we'll say echo you are root. Let's say. Now I just hit enter and nothing happens. Well, nothing should happen there because I've created a single alternative structure and the condition did not evaluate to true, so it's not going to work. Let's break this logic, but validate that it's working the way that we expect and say kc-internal like that. And now it says I'm root, even though I'm not. I just wanted to test, right? So let's go back to root here. And let's say if user equals root, then let's say continue. Even though continue isn't really, then proceed, maybe. And then otherwise we'll say else. And now with else, we've got more things that we can do. And this code block will only happen if that evaluates to false. We're building a dual alternative structure. We're forcing the computer to go one way or the other. In a single alternative structure, there's nothing forced. You just happen if it's true. There's nothing that happens if it's false. This, we're going to force a dual alternative structure now, where now you have to go one path or the other when you hit this. If user is root, then that. Else, echo you are not root exiting. Right? And then we would do, with this, we would say like exit 0 and we would leave the script. Or we could exit with a code of 1 and then that 1 would be evaluated in some larger maybe thing that had kicked the script off or something like that. If not, you were exiting, boom. And then fi. So if I did that, it says you are not root exiting. Because can anybody think of why you might run this? Why would you check this? And man, this is in literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of scripts all over the world inside of Linux systems. This exact test right here. If user equals root, then continue. And else, or they can say if user is not equal to root, and then they just do the first part. But why do they want to do that? Why do they want to just kick you out if you're executing some script and you're not root? Why might that be? Anybody know why that might be? Oh, and ZIW or probably Zoo, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Yeah, make sure you're running. I mean, why would we want to get like 10 minutes into the script and then just break because you don't have permission to install something? Yeah, it stops you from running it. Yeah, because, I mean, it's what we might call protecting you from yourself, keeping you from doing an exercise in futility. We can do these simple checks at the beginning and make sure that things don't work. There's a very common example. If you ever install GPFS on any file system ever, and I know this because I've had to do this often inside of big high-performance compute clusters. GPFS is very common. GPFS will not compile without K-shell on the box. You say K-shell? Never even used K-shell. K-shell is the corn shell. It's a somewhat popular shell from 20 years ago. It's still around. You can still, I bet I could put K-shell on this box right now. KSH, K-shell. Bet I could put it on there right now. And then I can switch over to K-shell if I wanted, right? So I could, look at this, KSH, boom. And then now I could make my user default to K-shell when I log in, and then now I'm running K-shell, and all you guys are down in bash. So you're a bunch of scrubs, right? No, I'm just kidding. But the point is, what was my point? Oh, there's a check right up front in GPFS. You can't install this without K-shell. Get out of here. And then you got to go, oh, shit, I got to put K-shell on all my damn boxes, only to compile it. Once you're done, it never needs it again. The scripts to deploy GPFS are all done in K-shell. I guarantee you'll never install it without K-shell. No. K-shell's been around since Solaris days, well, before Solaris probably even. But that's where I got into it. And it's funny, I worked with a guy whose name was Scott Hayes, KSH, and he only worked in K-shell. And I told him, I was like, I know why you did it. Because it's your initials. So, anyways, he was a good guy. He was very, very, very technical, very good what he did. eShell users. I've never even heard of eShell. Is that an Apple thing? That's funny. Okay, so can you test a variable? Yeah, oh, by the way, I don't want to lie to you guys. Can I take this and change it to just be test? Because I told you guys, did you know that you could just say test right here? Yep. Test, that is exactly the same thing to the system. Isn't that wild? I think until I picked that up on TLDP years ago, I didn't know that. That's the same exact evaluation. But what looks easier to read? If you're like scrolling through a bunch of lines of stuff, this catches your eye. So most admins, most engineers I know use this in their scripts. Again, I don't expect most of you to probably ever write. Even if you got in right now and said, I'm going to be a Linux sysadmin, I'm going to be an engineer, and I'm going to be doing that work in the next 2 years, I doubt you will ever have to professionally write a bash shell script nowadays. But you will definitely support them. You will definitely go in there and find other people's garbage. Yeah, I guess, yeah, test might look like you're almost like debugging something. But it's interesting to me that test and those square brackets evaluate exactly the same way to bash. So, also, I think that this just seems cleaner to me. Like this, I don't know if I'm using the term right, but this just seems unbound to me. Like this is like a nice little box of all my logic, and this is like, well, where does it end? Does it end somewhere? You know, that in my mind, that's kind of how that works. But they're the same thing. Both of those will work the same way for you all up and down your scripts. But and I, you know, again, I tell you guys, I'm not a professional coder, but I have literally tens of thousands of lines of crap deployed all over the world. But my thought process on it is, you know, I don't optimize stuff. I do nowadays push it up into Git repositories, but I never used to, right? Because we didn't do that 10 years ago in the systems world. That was all the coders that did that. Now with DevOps and everything merging together, everybody's pushing all their code up. Deceptive looks like syntax rather than an alias. Yeah. Fight Stick. One of our guys, Sending Grounds, is going to talk. He's actually came and talked to the group a few times, but he's going to come and talk in August. And he's going to talk. He does quite a bit with Bash. And he does Bash quite a bit in like a really big production cloud, one of the Mang companies. And he's been doing that. He just hit 7 years the other day. So he's pretty he's pretty embedded with them. So anyways, can you test a variable against an expected known value? Sure. Yep. Yeah, Sending Grounds. If we can ever get him to stream again. I think the double square brackets is newer, but I know it does evaluate some things differently. So, all right. Software pack. All right. So we're out of the scripting. There's guys that like scratches the surface of scripting. If you want to get better at bash scripting, one of the places I would tell you to go is tldp.org. It's the Linux documentation project, and this is where I go still. Is Alpine and KSH? I think Alpine is still using bash. I'm pretty sure. But tldp.org, and then you say, like, this is one I never remember. I have never bothered to put all of the file test operators to memory. I know some of them, right? But file test operators. tldp.org, file test operators, boom. And you want to know if a file exists, if you want to know if it exists, but this one's been deprecated. If you want to know if it's a non-zero size, that's very useful. What if it's a 0 size? That's probably not what I want my log file to be, so that's a problem. Is it a directory? Is it a block device? There's all these tests. And look, by the way, remember I told you guys TLDP is where I learned a lot of this stuff as I was coming up. They're showing you basic snippets of bash code. And look, it's if test -b device 0. Device 0 is up here as a variable from dev sda2. And this would just check if some device is a block device. Now, we don't have, in our environment, we don't have here SDA2. But if I grabbed all this and copied it, and I came back over here, and I said fdisk-l grep-i vd, yeah, we're VDA, and then I say vi, block checker.sh, right? And then I just say at the top, again, you don't really need it, but bin bash. Whoops, don't wanna. I can just O to a new line, Control Shift, and I need to change that to VDA. Let's just change it to VDA. So device 0 is VDA, and then this is commented, so we don't even need it. If the device dev VDA is a block device, then it'll say that dev VDA is a block device. It'll tell us that, and then right here we would just change that to VDA. Right, that's our note for what this is testing. Chmod 7 755 block checker and just hit block checker real quick, and it would tell me VDA is a block device. Other ways, ls block, right? We know other ways to do that, guys. But if for some reason in my script, in my deployer of a new tool, I needed you to have dev VDA there as a block device, I could check that. That's probably not a common use case, but maybe I needed to make sure that you had, maybe I knew in our environment that dev VDC, which would be the third disk, just using, yeah, so using the -B, look at what the -B does. It is the test for a file that you're looking at to be a block device. So we literally, like little cartoon character villains, stole this from the internet, right? We stole this off the internet, and there's only so many ways to do it. And then we used it for our own devices by changing it to what we needed. This is what we do as engineers. We steal stuff. Jared's over on the YouTube side. He often says that he's a JavaScript copy and paste expert, and what you're paying him for is to know what to copy and paste. He does a lot of Google Analytics and stuff. By the way, he's coming to talk to us in about a month. We're about 5 weeks out, but we're turning 5 on Discord, and we're turning 10 as a group, the Professional Linux Users Group. So we're just gonna have a big event and a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, SK, that's fine. It doesn't matter if you ask me. This is what a file test operator is. Look at all this. There's all these things you can test. One that's very useful is maybe I need to know that the user that's running the test can read a file, or I need to make sure that I can write. One of the things I might do up front is make sure I have write permissions to a log file. And if I don't have write permissions to that log file, I stop the script, or I stop whatever I'm doing. Yeah, this is it right here. tldp.org, a great place to go and figure out how to do things. Yeah, it's a block. A block device means an attached, it doesn't mean a disk, but it means an attached block device. So it's device that data blocks can be written to. So in this case, it happens to be a disk, but it doesn't have to be a disk. Blocks can also be RAM disks and other things that look like memory. So yeah, this is just checking if whatever it is a block device. And maybe you expect it there so your program can work properly. You know, there's a block device if you use NVIDIA drivers in Linux. If you install, you know, you got NVIDIA, like I have boxes that have like all these GPUs on them. And the NVIDIA, when you install the NVIDIA drivers, you get a whole bunch of block devices that are NVIDIA devices. So you'll get like /dev, so devices, and then it'll be like NVIDIA 0, NVIDIA 1, NVIDIA 2. And I could go check to make sure that there's at least one of them that's there as a block device, and then I could move forward. That's a shell built in. That's a shell keyword. Just checked for the first time using type. Nice. Yeah, fight stick. I'm sure some guys, I know for sure Sending Grounds will dig in on that deep with people, but I don't do enough bash anymore. I think I've told you guys a lot of like the last pretty much 8 years, I've been doing almost exclusively Ansible because it's so convenient, guys. It works so well. It really does work well for us engineering. So, all right, let's do some software packages. This will be fun. So this is software stuff that we're putting into, in this case, guys, we're dealing with Ubuntu, so it's Debian based, so we're going to have apt on it. Can you show all the packages in the system that have SSL in their name? Now, it would be different if it were a Red Hat box or a Rocky or an Alma or any of those, but if it's a Debian based system, what is that going to use? It's going to use apt and dpackage, but can you show all the packages that have SSL in their name? How about that? Some of these don't have it in the name, they have it over here. So this is where it gets tricky. I said it needed to be in the name. So we need to strip this out some way. So we need to strip, if you look at those lines, it's the second column, because the first column is all II. So I need to go like this. awk, print $2, right? And that'll give me all of them. grep -i ssh SSL. Those are the ones that have SSL in their name, right here. Oh, wait a minute. Did my logic break? So some of these, no. Okay, they're still. Yeah, we're good. Our logic's good. Logic's good. Yeah, see, this one doesn't have it here. It has it down here. This one doesn't have it in the name. It has it down here. This one does have it in the name. SSL Pearl. Okay, so that's only the ones with the name. Do I feel the need to use the raw module Ansible, or are able you do everything with that? I've never used the raw module, Zoo. I don't even know what that raw module is. Everything without it. I mean, I call modules, like you're talking. I've never used a raw module. Is that a real, is that a thing? I've never. Oh God, no. Never used this. No, I use shell sometimes though. I do use shell. I have reasons to use shell sometimes. I've never used raw though. No. That is interesting though. I've never used. Nope. All right. So, did I stop doing these a while ago? Ah, well. Can you show all the packages that have SSL in the name? So this one was packages, software, packages. Can you show all the packages that have SSL in their name? This is dpackage -l, and then in this case we did an awk print $. I can find my $2, and then grep-issl, right? Oh, I need to go. I'm gonna go fix these other ones real quick. Sorry, I want to get them, and I did that one. So I just need to write this one down. Hold on, real quick. And you test. Can you test a variable against a known value? It was if test, right? Or if, shell, -eq bash, something like that, right? Well, yeah. Something like that. All right, good. Software packages. We did that part. What happened? Did I miss anything? I believe the rod module is command direct line shell. Okay. Jared, anyone can copy and paste, but it takes an expert to know what to copy and where to paste it. That's true. Interesting. Hold on real quick. Fight Stick said, still from the dpackage-l, right? I want to see this one. So, can I do just gawk right here? I don't use this ever. What am I missing at the front of this? SSL. Ah, look at that. There we go. I like that. I like it. I mean, I think that's same names, same stuff. I like that. Yeah, I've never used that one before there, Fight Stick. DNF on if we're over on the on the Red Hat side, DNF will work for sure. I don't have DNF over here though. Over on because I'm on Ubuntu, but yeah, on the Red Hat side of things, RPM and DNF and Yum will all help you out with a lot of that stuff. So can I test against that? We did that. Can we find the package? All right. Can you show when the system software was last modified? Can you show when the system software was last modified? And what I mean by that is like the package manager changed something. Can you show? Because if you're talking about like when somebody just compiled something, you can't you don't know that. When the system, this is the system software, so again managed by the system, was last modified. Where would you find that? Who knows where that would be? RPM QA would be used if we were definitely on the Red Hat side of things, yeah. Or any of my CentOS boxes, 100%. So yeah, the system Ah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that, Bazelia. It's you could stat that, or you could just cat the file, right? Cat var log, and I think in this one it's apt. I think it's apt. Oops, apt. And then in here, I think it's just history.log. And then this one shows that sometime today, I installed kshell. So this is one, cat varlog apt history, and it's going to be different on different systems. But it's somewhere down in varlog, and it's something around that. GoPro installs some capture flags by checking the timestamps on the whole file system and seeing what was changed last. Interesting. Let's see if that other one's there. Hold on. Let's see if there's a varlog. Ah, there's a dpackage log. Look at that. Yeah. And dpackage log shows statuses of things. Does it also always show... Hold on, let's do dpackage. Let's cat that grep for KSH, because that's what I had added. And it shows that we installed KSH. Yeah, so I would say catting out varlog dpkg.log would show you that. And maybe grep for, you know, tool or whatever you think was there. That's a really good one, Bazelia. I didn't know that one. I didn't even realize dpackage had a separate log from the apt logs, so that's good. This shows all the statuses that were called. That is actually really, really useful. We could see when things were checked. That's super useful too. I like that. All right. Can you verify that you have a software called Calsay or not? And then, how would you install it? So, like before. Can we look for Calsay? So how would we install it? We know we don't have it. Apt install Calsay. And I learned this the other day with Calsay. Did you know that if you say apt install, but there's no dependencies to check, it'll just install the tool for you? You didn't see me do a -y there. But it didn't have any dependencies that were needed, so it just installed it. I always thought you needed a -y. -y is only if there's dependencies that have to be deconflicted. I only told it to install Calsay, so that's all it's going to install. And it would ask me if there were dependencies, but since there aren't, it does this. So can you install it? Yeah. So we installed it. So what was it? dpkg-l grep-i for Calsay. And then we installed it with apt install Calsay. And then this is going to bring up an interesting thing. I want to show you guys something fun about this. And I pulled this up to show something like from earlier. If I just say which Calsay, what should happen in a normal system where we've normally installed packages and installed tooling and stuff like that? If I do a which Calsay, shouldn't this find it in my path? Shouldn't this be just in my path? Well, look at this. It doesn't find it. So then I just say, well, try Calsay. And it says, it's not in your path. So I can say user games Calsay and be explicit about it. And I can say echo, this is a lot of fun, and pipe that into there. And I can make the Calsay it, but that's not in my normal path. So this comes back to that same problem from earlier. Now I got to add this to the path. So, you know, I got to do the whole, I got to say path is equal to $path colon user games Calsay. And then now when I say Calsay just by itself, this will work. What? Hold on. Oh. Guys, somebody's got to stop me. Put the full thing in the path. That's not supposed to be there. It's like that. Now it'll work. And also now I got extra bullshit in my path that shouldn't be there. If I echo my $, God damn it, you guys gotta stop me. Somebody needs to be there just to stop me, guys. I've got a full path to the... All right, anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so then you'd have to fix the path. But okay, but I think you guys are starting to see, like, and it's kind of funny, without getting super cynical, as like a person that's maintained systems for a long time and helped users, it's very easy to get very cynical about the kind of BS that a user is going to come at you with. But what I'm going to tell you is, in the Linux world, you're going to often be dealing with really good engineers that just don't know Linux very well. They know their code and they know their JavaScript and they know whatever they're doing, but they don't know your Linux very well. So you are going to see these same patterns emerge. And I tell people all the time, it's not that we're smarter than other people. We're just the ones that live in Linux, right? I tell my junior engineers all the time, we live down here. These other people don't. They just kind of visit us every now and then, and they use us to run their programs or whatever. So stuff like this is really easy for us to find because this is what we do. Like this is literally what we do to eat right here. We do Linux all day. But other people don't know to check their paths. They don't know that they busted it when they did that they alias wiped their whole bash RC, and they don't understand why nothing works anymore. Well, because you broke all your aliases. And we had aliases in the system that were there for you, that kind of stuff. So, because again, the user completely controls their environment. You can set whatever you want down in Profile D, and if a user wipes it, the user wipes it. It's their damn shell. They can do almost whatever they want to. They override anything. You can't. I'm trying to think if you can set things that the user can't change inside of their shell, and I'm like pretty sure you can't. Now you could set guardrails on it for them, but yeah, you can't stop them from doing, like, users are going to use, guys. That's what they're going to do. All right, anyway, so we did that. Can you verify that Calce? Oh, there we go. So that was Calce. Can you see if you have a container, and can you check the container images? Do I have a container software on here? And then do I have something available on my system to run containers? And then can I check if I have any container images? Well, what are some of the common ones? What are the common container platforms and tools that are out there? There's like a few big ones. A few pretty big ones that are out there going on doing stuff. What are the big ones? Podman. And do I have Podman? I hit Podman, and it says, dummy, you were missing your command. Well, I see that Podman's there, so that's good. What about Docker? We also have Docker. Oh, Docker told me I was dumb with a bunch of words. So both of them have a bunch of stuff. Well, I said to start, can you tell me if there's images? So what if I say Podman images? Oh, God. Images. And then Docker images. Nothing. You could trap debug to reset important environment variables. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think there's probably things, because we're root and we could do all kinds of things to people in their shell for sure. But at the end of the day, if a user wants to like break their stuff, they're going to be able to break it, I think. Even if that wanting is just because they want to be troublemakers, right? Yeah, Docker images, Podman images, those are good. What if I told you, we needed to know that we could run something on our environment? Well, let's answer this. Let's say, do we know? Can we see if we have container software? Can we check for local images? Yeah, and it's Docker images, Podman images, typically. So that'll work. So then we come down here. Can you run a container on your system? Can you verify it's running? And can you verify the image that you downloaded is there? So, can you run a container on your system? Can you verify that it's running? Can you verify the image you downloaded is there? SK, what did you think was... Podman is not just for RHEL. No, you could use Podman anywhere. I think Cryo is their proprietary one, but I think that's a Red Hat only one is Cryo. Is that right? Somebody help me out here. I don't do a lot of containerization, and my brother would know because he runs that for a big company, but I don't do that. All right, so let's check this out here real quick. Can you run a container on your system? Can you verify that's running? So what if I said Docker run Nginx? Can't find it locally, so it's going to download it, and then it's just gonna stand it up. But there's a thing about what I just did. Does anybody know what I just, when I did Docker run Nginx and then it started Nginx? What did it do here? It didn't background as a process. It's locked this. It's control of this. So let's go real quick. Let's walk over to a different terminal here. So let's go to a different terminal. We'll leave that terminal open, right? And we'll say no. I'm gonna leave it open. I want to leave it open for a second. What if I say Docker images or Podman images only on Docker side, because I only downloaded on Docker. So Docker's got the image. And then what if I said Docker PS and I see that Docker is running Nginx and it's on port 80? Ah, the -D, Heather's got it. But did it pull an Nginx image and run it? That's what it did. Cuddlingus, yes. That command I ran over here, Docker run Nginx, couldn't find it locally, so it went out to whatever repository was configured, which by default is Docker. It's the Docker images location, right? And I pulled the Nginx latest, which is a really bad practice in systems world. We don't pull latest, we pull a stable version, and we get to a stable version by testing in our lower environments, right? Oh, yeah, Sandeep, you were talking about this. This has 371 lines now, and I will be adding both of these to the Discord, yes. So then you'll have all of these questions, you'll have the lab environments, and you'll have all the answers, yes. Yes. Yeah, Suresh and Sandeep, I will definitely put it in there, yes. Yes, I will put it on there. Yeah, so yeah, Cuddlingus, if you've ever been like, hey, how easy is it to stand up like a web server on my local platform? That was it. So watch, I'm going to go back over here, and I say, okay, so shouldn't I just be able to curl 127.0.0.1 on port 80? Well, you don't even need to say port 80. It's going to connect. It's going to fail to connect, but there's a reason for that. If I do an ss-ntulp, I don't see port 80 here. Probably there's some type of limitation on the container software. So I'm going to show you guys. I think it's the next question here. We did run it and it did work. It said, can we run a container? Can we verify it's running? Can we verify the image? Yeah. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to kill this. It's going to kill it. If I say Docker PS, it's no longer running. But if I say Docker images, it's still there because it's been downloaded. Yeah. So watch this. I'm going to do my Docker run of Nginx, but I'm going to say the port is going to be 80 to map to 8080, right? So now I'm going to run that, but I'm also going to say dash lowercase d to put it in the background as a daemon. So now, whoops, dash the dash port. What? Oh man, Docker run should tell me. What is that? I have that on my what is that? 80. Oh, I did it backwards. It's 80 to 80. So it's 80 on the outside to 80 on the inside. That's my. What am I missing here? That's going to be like right here. Docker docs. Yeah. 8080 to 80. Yeah, that should be right. 8080 to 80. Yeah. Docker run Nginx. Yeah, I think you're right. It does come last. I need to move it over to the left. So Docker run, and then we'll do the -p 8080 to 80, and then we'll do the -d. So it's background. You're right. It does have to be at the end. Now, if we say Docker ps, we'll see it running, and we'll see it mapped like that. And now when we do our curl of 127.0.0.1 on port 8080, we'll see our Nginx page. Yeah, there it is, Fight Stick. You're right. I was testing you guys, and you all passed. But here's our Docker run as a background. So that backgrounds it. And then Docker ps will give us information about it. And then we can Docker images to see images, right? For example, if maybe we want to pull a very specific version of that. Yeah, you're right, Fight Stick. I thought I could put it after, but yeah, that has to come last. Then that has to be there last. And then I can manipulate it through this container ID. So this container ID allows me to, if I have a shell in there, I can exec into the shell with Docker. You could do the same thing inside of Kubernetes and go into things and look at logs and all that stuff. But yeah, we ran. That's exactly how simple it is to get Docker up and running. And then in some of our labs, I show you guys how to compile, or not even compile, it's rebuild your Docker images to have maybe like a Flask application. That Flask application can like read MySQL or whatever we're doing with it. And that's one of my 3-tier application things, shows you how to do that. So anyways, we did that. Can you run a container on a system with a daemon and a different port? We did that. We verified it, so it was that. And then that was it. That's the end of it. We finally finished after that was 7 hours the other day and almost another 2 right now. We hit all of the pieces of this one. So I'll get this up in the Discord for everybody, because I know people want to. Let's save this as. Let's call this back here. Let's take this to. Let's put in downloads for now, and we'll just call it Socratic Linux answers. I know some of the guys were asking for it, so we can get that. Yeah, and the goal of this is just to, like, you're thinking through things. Like, most of you know how to do this. Most of you have done these things, but maybe you've never sat down and kind of like walked through them and done that kind of stuff. Lower environments, prod is my QA. Yeah, Jared, if you can't get downtime, make downtime. That's a rule of engineering. So, SK, you've been doing a lot of labs, and I know you've been doing a lot of stuff. I think you could definitely put a lot of the Linux and Ansible on there, because I know you've been doing a lot of Ansible and getting real good at that, so that's good. So, all right, well, we'll probably stop here. I'll go raid out on the Twitch side. On the YouTube side, I definitely appreciate everybody coming by. I'll be on later this week. We're going to do the same thing with Ansible. So, let me pull this back up for a second. Hold on. So I'm going to close this up. I'll send this over to you guys. Yeah, we'll save that. I'm going to do this same thing inside of, hold on a second here. I've got a Socratic Ansible one. And so we'll do the same thing, but it'll be with Ansible. It'll be all the Ansible labs, and if you haven't seen how our Socratic method for Ansible works, it looks just like this. Come on, get out of here. It'll be up here in the corner, just like the other stuff, right? Boom. Just like this. We've went through this before, but I think a lot of this stuff, one, if you've never seen it, it's useful. And two, if it's valuable, you know, it's good to do it more than once maybe. But this is what the Socratic Ansible one does. We'll be actually doing all the Ansible labs. And all the Ansible labs we'll walk through, we'll do the question, and then we will have, we'll do the lab questions, right? So these are all questions. And then we'll actually ask ourselves more questions as we go. Yes, SK, this will be 0 to hero for Ansible. Yep. By the way, this is up in the Discord if anybody wants to start getting ready on this, but that's my plan to go next. So all of this stuff I'll put up in the Discord, and then that other stuff will start kind of going next, okay? All right, so let's go to end of stream. I will drop off of here. I appreciate you guys coming by. Let's go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side. Who's doing stuff out there? We got Blaze Bits out there. He's doing stuff. Let's see who I'm following that might still be on. Blaze Bits, Running Man's on. Practical Gamer. We'll go to Practical NPC because I like rating him. He's got some pretty good stuff. He builds games, but he's doing coding right now, so we'll go hop over there. And for anybody that enjoys this stuff, go hop in the Discord and talk shop with other engineers. I appreciate it when people hang out down there because it just helps build up the community. So thanks, everybody. Take care.